After the crash, I lay on a gurney with cracked ribs and a neck brace when Talia texted, "Sorry, I'm at lunch with my male best friend, can't just leave." I replied, "Okay." 20 minutes later, a police officer leaned over me and said, "Mr. Hensley, we just approached her table. The way she went still when we mentioned the driver who fled the scene, you'll want to see this." And right then, I realized I knew the man she was having lunch with. Before the real mess starts, quick favor. Hit subscribe, drop a like, and smash that hype button so the story gets the attention it deserves. The last thing I remember before the impact was the color of the sky, purple-orange, like a bruise forming over the hills. I had just finished servicing 3 turbines, 200 feet up in the wind, and my hands still smelled like grease and metal. The drive home should have been easy. 40 minutes of empty road, maybe some country radio if I could get a signal. Then the headlights came from nowhere. Black sedan, electric, silent until it was too late. It blew through the stop sign at maybe 60, 70 miles per hour. I had time to think one word. No. The impact spun my truck like a toy. The windshield exploded into diamonds. My ribs compressed against the seatbelt. The steering wheel bent. I remember the sound of metal screaming, and then the horrible quiet afterward. Through the haze, I saw the sedan's brake lights. Red eyes in the dark. The driver's door opened. A figure stepped out, looked at my wreck for maybe 3 seconds, then scrambled back inside. Reverse lights. The car backed up, turned, and vanished down the road like it had never been there. I tried to move. Couldn't. Everything hurt in ways I didn't have words for. My phone was somewhere on the floor. I tasted copper. The world tilted and went gray. When I woke up, there were lights everywhere. Paramedics, ambulance, someone cutting my seatbelt. A woman's voice saying, "Sir, can you hear me? Sir, stay with us." I tried to say yes, but my chest wouldn't let me. The ER smelled like disinfectant and panic. Bright lights, machines beeping. A doctor with tired eyes told me I had fractured ribs, deep tissue bruising, a torn shoulder, and a mild concussion. "Lucky," he said. "Could have been worse." "You need someone to pick you up," the doctor said. "Hospital policy. Can't release you alone with a head injury." I pulled out my phone. My hands shook as I typed, "I'm in the ER. Can you come get me?" Talia's response came fast. "Sorry, I'm at lunch with my male best friend. Can't just leave." I stared at the message, read it twice, 3 times. "Okay," I typed back. The doctor frowned. "Is she coming?" "Don't know," I said. 20 minutes later, a police officer walked into my room. She was maybe 40, with sharp eyes and a notebook in her hand. "Officer Keegan," her badge said. "Mr. Hensley," she said, "I'm investigating the hit and run. Can you tell me what you remember?" I told her everything. The black sedan, the blown stop sign, the way the driver looked at me and drove away. She wrote it all down. "We found paint transfer on your truck. Black. We're running it now. Partial plate from a traffic camera 2 blocks down. Car's an electric sedan, probably local." "Local," I repeated. "We're checking registrations," she said. Then she paused, looked at me carefully. "Your wife, Talia Hensley. We went to the restaurant where she was eating. Asked if she'd seen anything suspicious in the area lately." My chest tightened. "And?" Officer Keegan's expression didn't change, but something in her voice did. The way she froze when we mentioned the hit-and-run driver. You'll want to see this. The man she was with, he nearly fell out of his chair, knocked over a water glass. Both of them went pale. The room tilted again, but this time it wasn't the concussion. "What did he look like?" I asked. "Tall, fit, black hair, maybe 35, expensive clothes." She introduced him as Darren Pierce. Darren, Talia's male best friend, the one she talked about constantly, the one she went to lunch with twice a week, the one she said was like a brother. "He drives a black electric sedan," I said quietly. Officer Keegan's pen stopped moving. "You're sure?" "She told me last month. Said it was the sleekest thing she'd ever seen." The officer's face hardened. "I'll need his full name and any information you have." I gave her everything I knew. Darren Pierce, mid-30s, worked in tech, something about startups that never quite launched, always talking about the next big thing. Talia had brought him to the house twice. He wore expensive sneakers and talked too much. Officer Keegan closed her notebook. "We'll investigate. Don't confront anyone. Let us handle this." "Sure," I said. She left. I lay there staring at the ceiling tiles, counting the holes in the acoustic panels. 237 in my field of vision. I counted them twice. Talia showed up an hour later. She walked in like she was annoyed, like I had inconvenienced her by nearly getting ended. "You're not that injured," she said, looking at the monitors. "You scared me for nothing." I didn't answer. "I have a busy afternoon," she continued. "Can we go?" Her perfume was different. Expensive. The kind you wear to nice restaurants, not casual lunch places. Her makeup was fresh. She'd reapplied it recently. "Let's go," I said. The drive home was silent. She kept checking her phone, texting someone, smiling at the screen. "Who's that?" I asked. "Just work," she said too quickly. We got home. She helped me to the couch like I was a burden, then disappeared into the bedroom. I heard her on the phone, voice low, laughing about something. I sat there, breathing carefully around my broken ribs, and thought about the black sedan. About Darren's face when the police mentioned the hit and run. About the way Talia couldn't leave her lunch. The next few days blurred together. Medication, pain, hospital bed set up in the living room because I couldn't climb stairs. Talia moved around me like I was furniture. She made meals, but didn't ask if I needed anything. She went out often, always texting. On the fourth day, Darren came to the house. "Just wanted to check on Talia," he said at the door. "Make sure she's okay with everything." Check on Talia, not me, the guy who got hit by a car. I waved him in. He sat across from me, nervous energy radiating off him. His left hand had fresh scratches across the knuckles. His right had a purple bruise forming. He walked with a slight limp, favoring his left side. "Rough night?" I asked. He flinched. "What?" "Your hands, your leg." "Oh, gym accident, treadmill malfunction. You know how it is?" I smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. "Sure, must have been one intense treadmill." His face went white. He stood up fast. "I should go. Just wanted to check in." "Darren," I said as he reached the door. He turned. "You should get that limp looked at. Could be serious." He left without answering. Talia came out of the bedroom. "What did you say to him?" "Nothing important." He looked terrified. "Did he?" I leaned back against the pillows. Funny how guilty people look like that. She stared at me. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing," I said. "Just making conversation." That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because of the pain, though there was plenty of that. Because pieces were clicking together in my head like a machine I didn't want to understand. Darren's scratches, from deploying airbags, maybe, from glass, his bruised knuckles, from gripping a steering wheel during impact, his limp, from jamming a brake pedal too hard, the black sedan, the panic when police mentioned the hit and run, the lunch that Talia couldn't leave. I picked up my phone and started searching. Traffic cameras, nearby businesses, any footage from that intersection. It took 3 days of calls, but I found a convenience store with a camera pointed at the road. The owner let me see the footage. There it was, the black sedan, running the stop sign. The timestamp matched. The partial plate matched what Officer Keegan had told me. The car accelerated after the crash, fishtailing around the corner. I froze the frame. Enhanced the image on my phone as much as I could. The VIN was partially visible through the windshield, the way they always are on newer cars. I wrote down what I could see. Then I called a friend who worked at the DMV, called in a favor, gave him the partial VIN, the make and model. "That's a pretty specific batch," he said. "Only about 40 of those sold in this county last year. I'll text you the list." The list came through an hour later. 37 names. I scrolled down. Pierce, Darren, black electric sedan, purchased 8 months ago. My hands stopped shaking. Everything went very calm, very cold. I knew what I had to do. The next morning, I told Talia I needed to go out for physical therapy. She barely looked up from her phone. "Take your time," she said. I drove slowly, carefully, to the parking garage downtown where Talia said she sometimes met Darren for coffee. My ribs screamed with every turn of the wheel, but I didn't care anymore. I parked 3 levels up and waited. 40 minutes later, Talia's car pulled in. She parked in a corner spot away from cameras. 2 minutes after that, Darren's black sedan parked next to her. They didn't get coffee. They kissed, long and desperate, like people who'd been waiting all day. His hands in her hair, her hands on his chest. Then they pulled apart, laughing about something, and walked toward the stairwell together. I got out of my truck. My ribs protested. I didn't care. I followed them down 2 levels. They were standing close, whispering. Talia was saying something about me. "He's so passive," she said, giggling. "He'll never know. He just sits there like a wounded dog." "Are you sure?" Darren asked. "He looked at me weird the other day." "He looks at everyone weird. That's just his face." I stepped out of the shadows. "Is it?" They both spun around. Talia's face went through 5 emotions in 2 seconds. Surprise, guilt, fear, anger, calculation. "Jade," she said, "what are you doing here?" "Physical therapy," I said. "You know, for the injuries." Darren took a step back. "This isn't what it looks like." "Really?" I looked at him. "Because it looks like you're having an affair with my wife, and it looks like you drive a black electric sedan, and it looks like you have injuries consistent with a car accident." His face drained of color. "You're insane," Talia said. "You're on painkillers. You're confused." "I'm clear," I said. "Clearer than I've been in years." I turned to Darren. "How's the gym? Treadmill still giving you trouble?" He couldn't speak. "Here's what's going to happen," I said quietly. "I'm going to find every piece of evidence, every camera, every witness, every scraped piece of paint. And then I'm going to bury you." "You can't prove anything," Darren said, but his voice cracked. "Can't I?" I stepped closer. "Tell me, Darren, when you drove away from my truck, did you check if I was breathing? Did you call for help? Or did you just run because you were scared?" Talia grabbed his arm. "Don't say anything." "Smart," I said, "because anything you say right now, I'll remember." I turned and walked away. My ribs felt like they were full of broken glass, but I walked steady, didn't look back. Behind me, I heard Talia hissing something at Darren. Then I heard him say, "He knows. He actually knows." "So what?" Talia said. "He can't do anything." I smiled to myself. She was wrong. That afternoon, I went home and started moving methodically. I closed our joint bank accounts, transferred my half into a new account she didn't know about. I called the utility companies and removed her name. I called the credit card companies and reported her cards lost. I changed passwords on everything we shared. Then I packed her things, neatly, carefully. Every piece of clothing, every makeup item, every pair of shoes. I put them in boxes by the front door. When she came home that evening, she saw the boxes and screamed, "What is this?" "Your things," I said. "You're leaving." "You can't kick me out. This is my house too." "Actually, it's not. My name is on the deed. You moved in 3 years ago. Legally, you're a guest." I had checked with a lawyer that afternoon. "You have 30 days to find a place, but you can start now." She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. "You're really doing this? Over nothing?" "Nothing," I laughed. It hurt my ribs, but I laughed anyway. "You defended a man who left me to perish on the road. You chose him over me while I was in the ER. That's not nothing." "This is about Darren?" She tried to sound incredulous. "We're just friends." "Don't." I held up my hand. "I saw you. I know what he did, and I know you knew." Her face changed. The mask slipped. For just a second, I saw calculation there. Cold math. She was deciding what to admit. "Fine," she said. "You want the truth?" "Yes. Darren and I are together. And yes, he was the one who hit you. It was an accident. He panicked. He left me there. He didn't know what to do. He could have called someone. He could have stopped. He could have checked if I was breathing. You're fine," she said. "You're standing here. You're fine." I looked at her for a long moment. "Get out. Jade, get out of my house." She grabbed 2 boxes and left, slamming the door. I heard her car peel out of the driveway. I sat down carefully on the couch. My hands were steady. My mind was clear. This wasn't over. The next few days, I worked quietly. I drove to the intersection where the crash happened, knocked on doors of businesses nearby, asked about security cameras. Most places had nothing useful, but a small mechanic shop on the corner had a camera pointed at the street. The owner, an older man with grease under his nails, looked at me skeptically. "You a cop?" "No, I'm the guy who got hit." His face softened. "Yeah, I heard about that. Terrible thing. Let me check the footage." We went into his small office. He pulled up the video from that night. We watched in silence as the black sedan ran the stop sign, struck my truck, and then after a pause, reversed and fled. "Can you copy this for me?" I asked. "Already did," he said, handing me a USB drive. "Figured someone would need it eventually. That driver's a coward. Thank you." "One more thing," he said. "A guy came in here 2 nights after that crash. Black electric sedan, front-end damage, scratches all over. Lied and said he hit a deer." My pulse quickened. What did he look like? Tall, fit, dark hair, real nervous, paid cash. Wouldn't give me his insurance info. "Would you be willing to make a statement to the police?" He nodded. "Already planned to. Just needed someone to ask." I shook his hand. "You might have just saved this case?" "Good," he said. "Nobody should get away with what that guy did." I left with the USB drive and the mechanic's contact information. Went straight to a print shop and made copies of everything. Sent one set to my email, put one in a safety deposit box, kept one with me. Then I went home and studied Darren's social media. He was careful, but not careful enough. Photos from the night before the crash, showing his car in perfect condition. Photos from a week after, showing him with a rental car. The gap was suspicious. I screenshotted everything. I checked traffic camera databases. Found 2 more cameras that had caught pieces of the sedan's route. The timestamps created a perfect trail leading right to the intersection where he hit me. 3 days later, Darren showed up at my door. His face was tight with anger, trying to cover fear. "We need to talk," he said. "Do we?" "You're ruining Talia's life. You're harassing us. This needs to stop." I leaned against the door frame. "I haven't done anything illegal, unlike you. You can't prove anything." I pulled out my phone, showed him the photos I'd taken of his car in the public parking garage. The scrapes on the front bumper, the paint transfer that matched my truck's color, the dent in the hood consistent with the height of my vehicle. "Can't I?" His face went gray. "Where did you get those?" Public parking garage. No expectation of privacy. I also have photos of your injuries. Time-stamped. The same night as the accident. Airbag deployment leaves specific marks, you know. The scratches on your face match perfectly. That doesn't mean anything. It means enough for the police to get a warrant, to check your car properly, to match the paint, to find the mechanic you went to at Hillside Auto. His eyes widened. "What mechanic?" "The one you paid cash. Late night, 2 days after you hit me. You told him you hit a deer, but he remembers. He remembers thinking the damage looked wrong for a deer. Too high, too angular, like you hit a truck, and he's willing to testify." Darren's hands balled into fists. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" I stepped closer. "I also have traffic camera footage, 3 different angles. Your license plate visible in 2 of them. The timestamps match perfectly. The paint analysis from the police lab matches. Your car, my truck, no question." "You can't." "I can. I have, and I will." He shoved me, hard. Pain exploded through my ribs. I staggered back, saw red, then saw very clearly. I grabbed his wrist, twisted, used his momentum against him, slammed him against the door frame, held him there. My shoulder screamed in protest, but I held on. Years of climbing turbines, of holding my body weight with one arm in high winds, made me stronger than he expected. "Touch me again," I said quietly, "and I'll make sure the assault charge lands with the hit and run. I have a doorbell camera now. Everything's recorded." I let him go. He stumbled back, shocked. "Stay away from me," he said, trying to sound threatening. "Stay away from Talia." "Talia made her choice. You both did. Now you get to live with it." He left, practically running to his car. I watched him peel out of the driveway, then went inside and saved the doorbell footage, added it to my collection. That evening I organized everything into a clean folder. Photos, videos, witness statements, timeline. I made it look professional, official. Then I called Officer Keegan. "I have evidence," I told her. "Everything you need." "Bring it in," she said. I went to the station the next morning, laid it all out on her desk. The photos of Darren's car with visible damage and paint transfer. The mechanic's written and signed statement. The traffic camera footage from 3 angles. The timeline showing Darren's movements. The social media screenshots showing his car before and after. My medical records showing injury patterns consistent with the crash. Officer Keegan looked at everything carefully. Took her time, made notes. "This is solid," she finally said. "This is really solid. We can get a warrant. Inspect his vehicle properly, get the paint officially analyzed." "When?" "I'll talk to the prosecutor today. We move fast on hit and runs when we have evidence this clear, maybe 48 hours. "He's planning to run," I said. She looked up sharply. "You know this?" "I heard it through someone who works with him. He bought a plane ticket, leaving the country in less than a week." Her jaw tightened. "Then we move faster. Give me 24 hours. "Thank you." "Mr. Hensley," she said as I stood to leave, "this is some of the best evidence collection I've seen from a civilian. You did our job for us." "I just wanted the truth." "You got more than that. You got justice." I left the station feeling something shift inside me. Not satisfaction yet, but certainty. This was really happening. That night, I sat in my truck outside Darren's apartment, watched his window. The lights were on, shadows moving. I could see him pacing, talking on the phone, probably to Talia, probably planning their escape. I took photos, time-stamped, documented. At midnight, I drove home, slept better than I had in weeks. The next morning, Officer Keegan called. "We have the warrant. We're moving in today. Don't come, don't interfere. Let us do our job. I understand. But I drove to a coffee shop across from the police station anyway, sat by the window, waited. 2 hours later, I saw them bring Darren in, handcuffed, his face pale, his expensive clothes wrinkled. I sipped my coffee and watched. Officer Keegan came into the coffee shop 30 minutes later, sat across from me. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "I'm just having coffee." She almost smiled. The paint matches. Heck, perfect match. We also found frame damage consistent with high-speed impact. His car's been to 3 different body shops in the last month. He paid cash at all of them, tried to hide the repairs. So it's done? Not yet. He lawyered up immediately. But with what we have, he's going to trial, and he's going to lose. What about Talia? We're investigating her involvement. If she knew and didn't report it, that's obstruction. If she helped him hide evidence or planned to flee, that's accessory after the fact. We'll see what the evidence shows. I nodded slowly. Go home, Mr. Hensley. Let the system work. I finished my coffee and left. But I wasn't done watching. Over the next week, I followed the case obsessively. Darren made bail. Expensive lawyer. Talia was questioned 3 times. Her story kept changing. Then I got the call from Jennifer Lasco, the woman who worked at Darren's tech hub. He's still planning to run, she said. I heard him in the parking garage. He's got a backup plan, a van. He's leaving tonight. I called Officer Keegan immediately. We can't arrest him again without new evidence, she said. He hasn't violated bail conditions. What if he runs? Then we issue a warrant and he becomes a fugitive, but we can't stop him from traveling. I hung up, sat there thinking. Then I made a decision. If Darren ran, he'd disappear. Rich cowards always did. They'd flee to some country without extradition, live on family money, never face justice. I couldn't let that happen. So that night, I parked outside Darren's apartment again, watched, waited. At 11 p.m., he came out carrying 2 bags. Talia was with him, also carrying luggage. They were running, together. I followed at a distance. They drove to a storage facility on the edge of town. Darren unlocked a unit. Inside was a white delivery van. Old, unmarked. Probably bought cash off some online marketplace. They loaded their bags. Darren got in the driver's seat. Talia climbed in the passenger side. I called Officer Keegan. They're in a white delivery van, heading east on Route 9. Moving now. This is flight. This is him violating bail. We'll intercept. Where are you? Following them. Jade, do not engage. Do you understand me? Do not engage. I'm just keeping eyes on them. She sighed. Stay back. We're sending units now. But I didn't stay back. The van drove fast, weaving between lanes. Darren was panicking. I could see it in the jerky movements, the sudden braking, the acceleration. Rain started. Light at first, then heavy. The roads turned slick. I stayed 3 cars back. My truck's headlights blended with the others. They had no idea I was there. The van took an exit toward the industrial parks. Empty lots. Closed businesses. Nowhere to run, but Darren didn't realize that yet. I sped up, got closer. Darren saw me in his mirror. The van swerved. I followed. Calm, patient. This was just like climbing turbines. 1 move at a time. No fear. Just focus. The van turned into an empty lot. Darren slammed the brakes. He and Talia jumped out, soaked instantly by the rain. I pulled up slowly. Turned off the engine. Stepped out. Going somewhere? I asked. Talia looked like a drowned rat. Mascara running, shivering. Jade, please? Please what? Please let you run? Please forget that he nearly ended me and you covered for him? Darren stepped forward, trying to look tough, failing. Get out of our way. Or what? Or I'll move you. I laughed. Actually laughed. Try. He rushed me, sloppy, desperate. I sidestepped, grabbed his arm, and used his weight to throw him onto the wet pavement. He landed hard, gasped. I put my knee on his back, held him down. He struggled, but I was stronger, calmer. Years of holding myself on tower platforms in 60-mile-per-hour winds had made me strong in ways he couldn't understand. You didn't check if I was alive, I said quietly. You just drove away, left me bleeding, and then you took my wife while I was recovering. I'm sorry, he screamed. I'm sorry. It was an accident. Accidents are when you spill coffee. When you leave a man on the road and then take his wife, that's a choice. Talia was crying. Jade, let him go. Please, we'll turn ourselves in. We'll fix this. You can't fix this. Sirens in the distance, getting closer. Darren heard them too. He started thrashing. No, you can't do this. I'm not doing anything. You did this to yourself. The police cars arrived. Lights spinning, red and blue painting the rain. Officer Keegan stepped out, her face hard. "Darren Pierce," she called. "We have a warrant for your arrest. Hit and run. Leaving the scene. Reckless endangerment. And now, flight." "I didn't do it," he screamed. "We matched the paint from your car to Mr. Hensley's truck. We have the mechanic's testimony. We have traffic camera footage. We have everything." I stood up. "Let Darren go." He tried to run. Made it maybe 5 steps before 2 officers tackled him. Handcuffs snapped on. Officer Keegan walked over to me. You shouldn't have followed them." "I know." "You could have been hurt." "He could have had a weapon." "But he didn't." She studied my face. "You look different." "I am different." Another officer approached Talia. "Ma'am, we need to ask you some questions about obstruction of justice and aiding a fugitive." Talia looked at me one last time. Soaked, shaking, destroyed. "How could you?" she whispered. I stepped closer. Close enough that only she could hear me. "You made your choice at lunch," I said, "while I was on a gurney. While I was bleeding, while I needed you. You chose him. This is just what happens when you choose wrong." They put her in a separate car. The lot emptied slowly. Officers, vehicles, evidence bags. Officer Keegan stayed. We found plane tickets on both of them. One way to Costa Rica, no extradition treaty. "I know." "If you hadn't followed them, they'd be gone?" She nodded. "Get out of here. Go home. We'll need your statement tomorrow, but for now, just go." I got in my truck, started the engine, drove away slowly. The rain had stopped. The sky was clearing. I drove home, parked in the driveway, sat there for a long moment. Then I got out, walked inside, and locked the door behind me. The house was quiet. Empty. Mine. I stood in the kitchen, made coffee even though it was 2 a.m, drank it black, strong. My phone buzzed. Officer Keegan. "He's being held without bail, flight risk, trial in 3 months." I didn't reply. I sat down at the table, looked around at the empty house, at the spaces where Talia's things used to be, and I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't hurt. I was just done. Outside, the first light of dawn started breaking through the clouds, pink and gold. I finished my coffee, washed the cup, set it in the rack to dry, walked to the window and looked out at the morning. Somewhere Darren was in a cell. Somewhere Talia was being processed. And here I was, alive, free, exactly where I was supposed to be. I turned away from the window, walked to my bedroom, lay down on the bed, closed my eyes. And for the first time since the crash, I slept without dreaming. When I woke up, the sun was high. My phone had messages. Officer Keegan, my lawyer, a few friends who'd heard what happened. I ignored them all, got dressed, made breakfast, eggs, toast, simple, ate slowly, tasted everything. Then I grabbed my keys and drove to the wind farm, parked at the base of Tower 17, 200 feet of steel and machinery. I suited up, checked my harness, started climbing, 1 rung at a time. The wind picked up as I climbed higher. Cold, clean, honest. At the top, I hooked in and looked out over the valley, miles of green and gold. The world spread out like a map. My phone buzzed, a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Jury selection starts Monday. We'll win this." I put the phone away, stood there in the wind, breathing, alive. Below me, the world was small. Above me, the sky was endless. I got to work, checked the turbine systems, tightened bolts, replaced worn parts, the familiar rhythm of maintenance, the honest work of keeping things running. 2 hours later, I climbed down, packed my tools, drove to the next tower. This was my life. This was enough. That night, I sat on my porch. No TV, no music, just the sound of crickets and the distant hum of wind turbines. My phone buzzed one last time. Officer Keegan. Darren's lawyer tried to cut a deal. Prosecutor said, "No, we're going to trial. This is happening." I typed back, "Good." Set the phone down, looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, justice was grinding forward. Slow, inevitable. And I didn't need to watch it anymore. I'd done my part. The rest would take care of itself. I stood up, went inside, locked the door. Tomorrow I'd climb more towers, fix more turbines, live my life. Simple, honest, mine. I lay down in bed. The house was quiet. Perfect. I closed my eyes and smiled. Not because I'd won, but because I'd survived. And sometimes that's the same thing. You didn't check if I was alive. I'm just returning the favor.